Hello guys, this is my video project for Western art history, and today I'm going to be focusing on two artists, but mainly Vincent van Gogh. I'm going to go more into depth about his life and kind of how his life has influenced some of his paintings. So the title of the presentation is Vincent van Gogh and Edvard Munch, How Mental Health Influences Art. When you hear the name Vincent van Gogh, the first image that probably pops up in your mind is his landscape painting titled The Starry Night, as it is one of his most popular. But what the common people may not understand is how this painting and many of his others tell the story of a man who struggled with his own mental health throughout his lifetime. For the duration of this video, I will talk to you about two distinct artists whose mental spaces and emotions are reflected in their paintings as time passes by. The two artists I will be mentioning are the famous Vincent van Gogh and Edvard Munch, who are 19th century Impressionist artists. So now I'm going to get more into the bibliography of Vincent van Gogh. So he was born on March 30th, 1853. Van Gogh was a Dutch artist who was raised in the south of the Netherlands in a small town of Zundert as the second child of his 6 siblings. Vincent, the son of a Protestant minister, and his mother, who was a bookseller's child, grew up in a religious and disciplined household. His early life was marked by isolation and introversion, traits that would accompany him throughout his life. Although he showed an early interest in art, he initially pursued other paths, including working as an art dealer, a teacher, and a missionary, although his emotions were unpredictable as a youth. Van Gogh excelled at language while studying at several boarding schools until eventually he discontinued his education in 1868 and never resumed formal study. And it wasn't until his late 20s that Van Gogh committed himself fully to becoming an artist, and his decision was moved by a deep desire to communicate his emotions and observations of the world through art. And unlike many of his contemporaries, Van Gogh had no formal training in the traditional sense. Instead, he was largely self-taught, drawing inspiration from nature, people, and the works of other artists such as Jean-François Millet and Rembrandt. Van Gogh's late start to his artistic career underscores the importance of perseverance and dedication to one's craft, even in the face of social expectations or personal doubts. Additionally, Vincent van Gogh produced almost no income from his paintings. Thus, Theo, his brother, financially backed his elder brother throughout his lifetime. Van Gogh was obligated to return home with his family a year later in 1881 when he taught himself the art of painting. With his brother's support, Van Gogh went to the Hague, rented a studio, and learned from Anton Mauve, a well-known member of the Hague school. Mauve introduced him to the art of Jean-François Millet, a French painter famous for depicting the lives of workers and farmers. Van Gogh began painting the worn palms, faces, and other physical traits of laborers in the impoverished in 1884, after relocating to Nuenen, Netherlands, with the intention of becoming an artist of rural life similar to Millet. His private life was in chaos, despite the fact that he had discovered a professional vocation. Additionally, Van Gogh would criticize Theo for not working sufficiently hard enough to promote his artworks, to which Theo responded that Vincent's gloomy palette was out of fashion in comparison to the bright and colorful manner of the Impressionist painters who were prominent at the time. But what was going on that made Van Gogh choose such a dull and gloomy color palette? And then here's an example of one of his paintings. It's called Basket of Potatoes, 1885, and then you can kind of see like the color palette is really dull. There's not really any color besides like dark greens, browns. Even the highlights are kind of like dark, and then the background. And he produced a lot of these paintings, but his older brother didn't really like them, and he really did thrive on his brother's support. So without his brother's support, Van Gogh felt as though like he couldn't be a painter. So now I'm going to move on to the mental health struggles that Van Gogh struggled through and why it kind of affected his paintings. So Van Gogh's life was marked by a profound emotional turbulence. He suffered from mental health issues including depression, anxiety, and what many modern experts believe may have been bipolar disorder or temporal lobe epilepsy. These struggles often led to periods of intense productivity followed by deliberating despair. These struggles were so intense that Gogh, a painter and a friend of Van Gogh, who he was living with for a while, moved for Tahiti, partly to get away from Van Gogh's increasingly unstable conduct. And after a particularly violent confrontation in which Van Gogh assaulted Gogh with a knife and eventually hacked off part of his ear, Gogh sneaked away. This act of mutilation led to his hospitalization and marked the beginning of a series of institutionalization. That was when Van Gogh deliberately took himself to a psychiatric facility in Saint Remy on the 8th of May, 1889, suffering from his declining mental state. His psychological state remained stable all throughout the following weeks, and he was allowed to commence creating. Doctors thought that by giving Van Gogh the freedom to paint, it would help him survive, and he did. Throughout these long nights in a small asylum filled with only 41 patients, Van Gogh's creativity skyrocketed as he would finish multiple paintings in the span of just a few hours. Despite his struggles, Van Gogh channeled his emotional turmoil into his art. His paintings are renowned for their expressive use of color, texture, and movement, conveying the beauty he saw in the world and the intensity of his inner emotions. Works like The Starry Night and Wheatfield with Crows exemplify this emotional depth, resonating with viewers on a deeply human level. Van Gogh finished nearly 100 canvases throughout his time in Saint Remy, notably The Starry Night, 1889. The facility and its gardens were his major topics, which he depicted with the powerful brushstrokes and luscious colors that characterized his mature phase. Van Gogh immersed himself in the natural inversions during supervised excursions. The bulk of Van Gogh's most famous paintings were created during his last couple of years of his life, producing at least one painting each day in his final month. However, once Theo revealed his intention to start his own firm and indicated that cash would be scarce for a while, Van Gogh's sadness worsened dramatically. He walked into a neighboring wheat field on the 27th of July, 1890, and wounded himself in the torso with a handgun. Today, Van Gogh's paintings are among the most celebrated and valuable works of art in the world, a testament to the lasting impact of his vision and perseverance. Now I'm going to do a painting analysis on some of his paintings, and specifically I'm going to get more into detail about The Starry Night. So Vincent William van Gogh, the quintessential English artist, endeavored to express his psychological and metaphysical condition in every one of his masterpieces, such as The Starry Night and his flower paintings. Vincent van Gogh's paintings, with heavily layered, palpable brushwork produced in a vibrant, luxurious palette, reflect the creator's distinguishable character immortalized on canvas. Every Vincent van Gogh artwork reveals a distinct impression of how the master interpreted every scenario as experienced through his senses, thoughts, and emotions. One of Van Gogh's most significant contributions to art history was his ability to infuse ordinary subjects with extraordinary emotion. Paintings like Sunflowers and The Bedroom showcase everyday scenes transformed into profoundly personal and evocative works. His landscapes, such as The Starry Night, bristle with energy, capturing the movement of the wind, stars, and the sky in a way that feels both dreamlike and alive. Van Gogh also had a profound appreciation for nature, a constant source of inspiration. His paintings of wheat fields, olive trees, and cypress groves reflect a deep connection to the natural world, emphasizing its beauty and vitality. This connection reminds us of the importance of finding inspiration in the world around us and appreciating life's simple, often overlooked details. Van Gogh's painting style was radically unique and emotionally compelling, as it has profoundly influenced painters and trends through the 20th century and continued to the modern day, ensuring his relevance for the conceivable future. Van Gogh's art defied convention, blending impressionism, post-impressionism, and his unique vision. His bold, vibrant colors and dramatic brushstrokes were revolutionary, breaking away from traditional academic art's subdued tones and meticulous detail. Van Gogh grew to feel that color's influence extended beyond the analytical. He even stated that color communicates something in itself. Color, according to Van Gogh, has an emotional and ethical significance. And then this is also seen in his painting, The Night Cafe, in 1888. But yellow had the most meaning for him since it represented emotional reality. He utilized the color yellow to represent sunlight, health, and God. Van Gogh preferred to paint in what he termed the guise of truth, and he was disdainful of excessively stylized works. He later remarked that The Starry Night's abstraction had proceeded too far and that realism had faded away too much in the distance. It is characterized as a time of profound visual ecstasy. The lights are in a big swirl, evocative of Hakutsai's great wave. The motion in heaven above is mirrored by the action of the cypress on the ground below, and the artist's perception is transformed into a thick, forceful stream of paint. Now I'm going to explain to you in-depth description of The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, and I guess the techniques he used and how it's sort of painted. Vincent van Gogh's The Starry Night, 1889, is one of the most celebrated and analyzed masterpieces in Western art. Painted during his stay at the St. Paul Asylum in Saint Remy, France, the piece is a vivid and emotive representation of the night sky, viewed and reimagined from his asylum room. Van Gogh created The Starry Night during a period of intense personal struggle and emotional turbulence. He was recovering from a mental health crisis and sought solace in painting. Although inspired by the view outside his window, the scene is largely an imaginative reconstruction blending natural observation with personal emotion. The composition of The Starry Night is dynamic and floating, featuring three main sections. So we have the night sky, the village, and the cypress tree on the left. So the night sky, the swirling celestial forms dominate the canvas. The moon and stars radiate gold light, set against deep blues and greens, creating an otherworldly yet intimate atmosphere. Nestled below the sky, the village offers a sense of stillness and human presence. The church steeple pointing upward bridges the grounded human world with the divine heavens. On the left, the dark cypress tree reaches into the sky. Its flame-like shape connects the terrestrial and celestial remains, symbolizing death, eternity, or spirituality in Van Gogh's vision. Van Gogh's signature use of color is on full display in The Starry Night. The contrast between the cool blues of the night and the warm yellows and oranges of the stars creates a vividly interplay of light and dark. The harmony of complementary colors, which are blue and orange, yellow and violet, adds vibrancy to the painting. The thick, expressive strokes known as impasto intensify the colors, giving them a tactile, almost three-dimensional quality, which was also common in most of his other paintings. He employed heavy, deliberate brushstrokes to convey motion and emotion. So, the swirls and spirals, the sky is filled with swirling patterns and suggests turbulence, energy, and movement, conveying Van Gogh's fascination with the cosmos and his inner turmoil. The short dashes, which are the stars and the moon, are surrounded by short dashes of light, creating halos of vibrance. The diagonal lines of the hills and vertically of the cypress tree add tension and balance to the scene. So now for symbolism. The sky represents infinity and the mysterious of the universe. The vibrant stars symbolize hope and spirituality, reflecting Van Gogh's own quest for meaning. The cypress tree, often associated with mourning and eternity in European culture, it might symbolize Van Gogh's contemplation of death and the afterlife. Some art historians interpret the village as a symbol of human life and community, contrasted with the boundless expanse of the sky. And Van Gogh once wrote in a letter to his brother, Theo, that, quote-unquote, the night is more alive and more richly colored than the day. This sentiment is vividly expressed in The Starry Night. The painting is an emotional outpouring encapsulating Van Gogh's feelings of isolation, awe, and a yearning for transcendence. The viewer is invited into his world, experiencing both his anguish and his wonder. And by focusing on Van Gogh's innovative use of color, technique, and emotional depth, some scholars have noted that the captivate audiences and provide actual night sky scene from the St. Remy historical on the night of June 19, 1889, though the arrangement is largely imaginative. The painting is a precursor to expressionism with its emphasis on emotional experience over realistic representation. The piece is often seen as a reflection of Van Gogh's psyche, blending serenity and chaos. Today, The Starry Night is housed in the Museum of Modern Art, also known as MoMA, in New York City. It remains a symbol of artistic genius, emotional vulnerability, and the power of art to transcend personal suffering.